Welcome to my show. Thanks for tuning in. KBS World Radio English Program. TXQTH, Kimjae, South Korea, 250 kilowatts AZ264. RXQTH, Ota, Tokyo, Japan. Date, 30/December/2020. Time, 14:00 UTC. FRQ, 9630 kHz. RX, TECSUN PL-680. And Apex Radio 303 WA2 passive antenna.
여기는 대한민국 서울에서 보내드리는 KBS 월드 라디오입니다. This is KBS World Radio, the overseas service of the Korean Broadcasting System, coming to you from Seoul, the capital of the Republic of Korea. We now begin today's English broadcast on KBS World Radio. From Seoul, Korea, KBS World Radio News Today starts right now. On today's broadcast, ahead of the new year, the presidential office carries out a cabinet reshuffle involving the justice minister, while three senior presidential officials also offer to resign. President Moon Jae-in nominates a former judge to be the inaugural chief of a powerful anti-corruption agency. And the top quarantine officials in South Korea and the U.S. discuss cooperation on COVID-19 responses as South Korea reports over 1,000 new cases for the second consecutive day. This is KBS World Radio News. I'm Mark Wilson-Chae. President Moon Jae-in on Wednesday tapped three-term ruling Democratic Party lawmaker Park Bum-gye as the next justice minister. This means the presidential office has accepted incumbent Minister Kimjae's offer to resign, expressed earlier this month. The three-person reshuffle also involves DP's chief policymaker Han Jung-hae, who has been named environment minister, while former Navy Chief of Staff Hwang Ki-chul is nominated to lead the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs. Announcing the reshuffle, Senior Presidential Secretary for Public Communication Chung Man-oh expected that Park would complete reforms of the prosecution and the Justice Ministry and help build a fair society. Justice Minister Chu has been in a prolonged conflict with Prosecutor General Yoon Suk-yeol, who was suspended from duty by a disciplinary panel. But the suspension was lifted by a court that accepted Yoon's injunction request. Meanwhile, Justice Minister nominee Park Bum-gye on Wednesday praised the complete reform by listening to voices of the public. Speaking to reporters following news of his nomination, the former judge and ruling Democratic Party lawmaker said he feels a heavy sense of duty. Park says that he believes President Moon Jae-in gave him guidelines on achieving reform through the establishment of stable cooperative relations between Justice Ministry and prosecution. He also said that many reforms have already been accomplished, and for those remaining, he will sufficiently gather opinions from the public, parliament, and political parties. President Moon Jae-in's Chief of Staff No Young-min, top policy aide Kim Sang-jo, and Senior Civil Affairs Secretary Kim Jong-ho have all tendered their resignations. In a Wednesday briefing, Senior Presidential Secretary for Public Communication Chung Man-oh said the three aides have offered to resign in hopes of helping the president revamp state affairs with a blank slate during a nationally difficult time. The resignations come amid growing calls for a personnel overhaul backdrop of a prolonged conflict between the Justice Minister and Chief Prosecutor and concerns over the timely supply of COVID-19 vaccines. Chief of Staff No has served under President Moon for nearly 2 years, while Policy Chief Kim for a year and a half, and the Civil Affairs Secretary was appointed in August. Moon could announce extensions early next month in a major presidential reshuffle in efforts to seek stable state governance in his 5th year in office. President Moon Jae-in has nominated a former judge to be the inaugural chief of the powerful Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials. According to the presidential office on Wednesday, Kimjae, who currently serves as a senior researcher at the Constitutional Court, was chosen for the position. Kim was one of the two final candidates recommended by a parliamentary panel on Monday. After passing the National Judicial Examination, Kim was appointed a judge in 1995. He then worked as a lawyer at Kim & Chang, the country's largest law firm, from 1998 to 2010, before becoming a researcher at the Constitutional Court. The nominee will face a National Assembly confirmation hearing, with the CIO set to be launched next month. The ruling Democratic Party on Wednesday welcomed the nomination of the former judge as the inaugural chief of the CIO, saying it expects the nominee to lead the new agency with political neutrality and fairness. Raising hopes for the long-awaited systematic reform of institutions of power, which it's had for over 20 years, the DP vowed to ensure that both Kim's appointment and the CIO's launch proceed without a hitch. The main opposition People Power Party, on the other hand, criticized the president for nominating another puppet, after the ruling party pushed to recommend candidates without the opposition's approval. Describing the nominee as being customized for the ruling side, the PPP said the CIO is a reflection of the Moon administration's shamelessness in its attempt to cover up its illegalities. South Korea reported 1,050 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday, posting a 4-digit number of new cases for the second day in a row. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency said that the new infections raised the country's accumulated caseload to 59,773. The nation has added an average of 1,033 cases a day over the past week. 20 more people died from COVID-19 on Tuesday, bringing the death toll to 879. Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun called for the thorough quarantine preparations, expressing concern over the possibility of a further spike in COVID-19 infections from year-end gatherings and movements of people. South Korea has confirmed 2 additional cases of the COVID-19 variant that prompted new lockdown measures in Britain and global travel restrictions. A government official said Wednesday one of the 2 cases is a man in his 80s who died last Saturday and whose postmortem test showed he was carrying the COVID-19 variant. The second new case confirmed is a woman in her 20s who entered the nation from Britain after passing through the United Arab Emirates. With the latest figures, a total of 5 cases of the COVID-19 variant have been confirmed in the nation as of Wednesday morning. The top infectious disease officials in South Korea and the United States discussed increasing cooperation on COVID-19 responses and the development of vaccines and treatment. Talks between Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency Director Jung Eun-kyung and Anthony Fauci, the director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, were held Tuesday via video conference. According to the KDCA, the 2 sides assessed each other's COVID-19 situations, where Fauci called South Korea one of the world's leading nations in COVID-19 responses, managing to contain the virus's spread. The 2 sides also decided to seek technological cooperation and joint clinical studies on vaccines and treatment, as well as the establishment of a bilateral consultative body, where Jung highlighted the importance of the international cooperation. South Korea has notified the United States of its decision to allow Korean troops and civilians working for the U.S. Forces Korea to receive vaccinations for COVID-19. According to Defense Ministry spokesperson Boo Sung-chan, on Wednesday, Seoul has decided to allow the immunizations as long as the Korean nationals can make a voluntary decision and the U.S. provides a list of those getting the shots. The vaccinations for Korean soldiers serving as part of the Korean augmentation to the United States Army and civilian employees of the USFK could start as early as Wednesday. The decision comes as USFK began inoculating its healthcare workers, first responders, and command team with vaccines developed by Moderna on Tuesday. North Korea said it has decided to hold a rare Congress of the ruling Workers' Party early next month. The North's official Korean Central News Agency said on Wednesday that the decision was made by the Party's Politburo meeting the previous day. The 8th Party Congress, which comes 5 years after the previous one in 2016, is expected to be held between January 1st and 10th. A Seoul court has found a controversial pastor not guilty of violating the country's election law or defaming President Moon Jae-in. The Seoul Central District Court on Wednesday acquitted Jeon Kwang-hoon of Seoul's Sarang-jeol Church, who stood trial on charges of a pre-election campaign ahead of the general elections in April this year. The pastor was tried on charges of defaming the president after he accused Moon of being a spy for North Korea and attempting to communize the country. In its ruling, the court said none of the charges filed against Chun were proven to be foul play. Chun and his church came under fire after they held a massive anti-government rally in Seoul's Gwanghamun Square in mid-August, despite concerns over a new wave of the COVID-19 epidemic. He has also contracted the virus. South Korea's main bourse has ended the year with another all-time high record. The benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index rose 52.96 points, or 1.88% on Wednesday, to close at 2,873.47, hitting a fresh high for the fourth day in a row. The tech-heavy Kosdaq also rose, gaining 11.01 points, or 1.15%, to close at 968.42. On the foreign exchange, the local currency strengthened 5.8 won against the dollar, ending the session at 1,086.3 won. And that's the news from KBS World Radio News Center in Seoul. I'm Mark Wilson-Che.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to push like button if you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel.